What is going on? Welcome back to Jiu-Jitsu Outlet. Something I've been thinking about a lot is why do people quit training Jiu-Jitsu? I've been training now for about 15 years and I've been an academy owner now for almost 2 years, which is crazy. Time is flying. I've noticed over that time that a lot of people end up quitting Jiu-Jitsu when they start. And I wanted to talk about some of the main reasons why I think that is and some of the reasons that I have quit jujitsu over the last 15 years. I've actually quit a handful of different times. I started training when I was 7, and I'm now 33. And I've quit, I think, 5 or 6 times over that whole period. Most notably was when I was a kid, I just didn't have a whole lot of discipline and I just didn't want to continue because it was tough and it was difficult and I didn't really have any sort of staying power. And yeah, so I basically quit and my parents allowed that for better or for worse because they didn't want me to do something that I hated. And maybe that was a good decision because now I love it, and I just had to come around in my own time. But then the second time that I quit was because my life fell apart. I got divorced. I moved across the country, and I basically had to change training locations. So I've noticed that that's one of the main reasons why a lot of times people who were committed end up quitting is because maybe something happens in their life, maybe a family member passes away, or they have a really bad breakup or a divorce, or they lose a job, or maybe all of those things happen at once. And that was kind of the case that happened with me there. And a lot of those different things were kind of happening together. And it really sucked and it was really hard. And yeah, I moved and I didn't have the people who I used to train with. And it's really hard sometimes to get into a new routine at a new jiu-jitsu place when you're used to training at the old place. So you miss how it used to be, you miss your old friends, you miss your old coach, you miss the way that it used to be. And now in this new environment, it's strange, it's awkward, and you don't like it. So it's hard to build the new habit of then going back. Maybe you decide you're going to take up rock climbing, or maybe you're going to go get back just into lifting weights or CrossFit or something else, and you do, and you end up quitting. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that it would be great if you had the ability to have that same experience everywhere, that same experience everywhere. And that's kind of what we want to do with Jiu-Jitsu Outlet eventually is have experience in multiple places all over the world. That way people can have a reliable experience. Because I think that's one of the main reasons that people quit. And yeah, I think there's a lot that we can do as a community to prevent that because a lot of times, yeah, you go train at different spots and it's completely different and it's tough because it's not the same experience that you're used to. It's not the thing that you actually fell in love with. It's something else with a different tribe, a different community, and it feels different. And yeah, it's a valid reason to quit something, honestly, because if you enjoy doing it because you really like the coach and you really like the people that you trained with, and now you moved and now it's a whole new crew and you got to get used to them, and maybe you don't vibe the same and you don't really like them the same. Is it a good reason to quit something? I don't think so. But I mean, it depends on how committed you are to the thing, right? So for me, I've always been super committed to jujitsu. So eventually I did get back in, which was great. And, yeah, now I have my own academy and I'm, making videos about why people quit jiu-jitsu. So you just got to kind of keep coming back. And no matter what happens, just keep training. Another one of the big reasons why people quit is because of injuries. Again, super understandable. And it happens, right? I've torn my knee. I had a really bad concussion, not from jiu-jitsu, but just from an accident that I had. Obviously, there's like very obvious health reasons why someone might quit jiu-jitsu. And those are just very unfortunate in the same way that if someone were to pass away, they obviously can't train jiu-jitsu. Well, I guess they can in the afterlife, but you get what I'm saying. Like, it's very unfortunate if someone can't train because of some serious illness. But I do think that there's a lot of times where this thing, you can come back from it. And even if you tear your knee, like I've torn both of my knees and I was able to come back. And my knee still sometimes gives me some trouble. It was actually giving me a little bit of trouble earlier today. And you just kind of have to push through, stretch it, strengthen it, use weight training, and use physical therapy, use massage, chiropractor, all of these different things that are available to us these days. And, there's no reason why, even if you have a bad injury and you have to take even a year off, you should be able to come back, even if you have a really bad injury. Like me with my concussion, I had to take almost a whole year off, and it really sucked. And I didn't actually know if I was going to be able to come back, but thankfully I was able to come back. So, yeah, you just got to keep pushing through and keep going and just get back to the mats when you can, and just understand that it's normal. It's kind of a part of the process. Another one of the main reasons why people quit is comparing themselves to other people. And this is a really tough one because it can be really hard if you're training at a place where maybe there aren't a whole lot of new beginners all the time and there's a consistent crew that's been there for a long time. It can be difficult because it can feel like you're not really getting any better, especially if you are the new person or maybe you are one of 3 new people. The thing is maybe one of them's a little more athletic than you, and you guys, maybe this guy's able to show up 4 times a week and you're able to come 2 times a week or 3 times a week. And maybe it's like you're kind of neck and neck with each other, and or maybe even they're a little pulling away from you a little bit. It can be really difficult because then you start to feel like you're just not getting better at all, because from your perspective, the ratio of you to them or the relationship of you to them is the same. So maybe you started off like there was this much of a gap between you two, and then you're still going at the same rate. And if anything, that gap is widening because maybe they're training a little bit more, or again, maybe they have a little more time to go to the weight room, or maybe they have a little more money to invest into their food or their nutrition or whatever it is. Maybe there's some for some reason they're pulling ahead a little bit, and that can be very discouraging for a beginner, because then from their perspective, everyone else in the gym is beating their ass, and the 1 or 2 people that they were hanging with are now kind of edging away from them too, and they just feel like the odd person out. So they quit because they're tired of getting their ass kicked, and from their perspective, this is just going to be how it always is. They're just going to always be the bottom of the totem pole, and that can be really tough for people. It can be very demoralizing. However, there's always hope, and fortunately, a big part of that hope is just that eventually another new person will eventually sign up. You just have to stick it out. Or there might be someone who visits from another academy, or maybe you're able to go to an open mat and visit another academy, or maybe you sign up for a competition or something like that. But there's all sorts of ways that you can go out and encounter other new people. And what you find is that actually you are getting a lot better. And it's just that you're only seeing from your perspective, and you don't see the fact that everyone else is training just as hard as you, if not maybe a little harder. They're keeping that same gap the whole time. So maybe in the beginning, you felt like you were kind of neck and neck with them. And now a year later, you're still neck and neck with them. But if you've been training and they've been training, then that should continue to be the case. You should continue to be neck and neck all the way to black belt or whatever, assuming you guys both keep training together. So that should just kind of be considered normal. But I think a lot of folks see that as a discouraging thing, and then they decide to quit because they're like, oh man, I'm not getting better because George, he's beating my butt now, and we started at the same time. And it can be hard, but it's just kind of an illusion, honestly. So you just need to stick it out again, and you just kind of need to realize that you are getting better, and it just might not be evident, but in actuality, you are learning something, you are getting better. And if you give it a year or even 2 or 3 years, you will see a massive improvement. And might just take you being the bottom guy on the totem pole for a little bit. And for some people, they just can't handle that. But martial arts is a big ego check. And you just have to realize that eventually you will not be the bottom guy on the totem pole anymore, or girl. Eventually there will be some other new beginner who shows up, and then they will feel the exact same way that you feel. And it'll be a big confidence boost for you, because you'll probably beat their ass on their first day, and you'll be like, wahoo, look at me, I learned something. And it'll be great, right? You'll feel like you accomplished something. But in actuality, you were accomplishing something the entire time. You just didn't see it from that perspective because you're just so focused on comparing yourself to others. So instead, just don't compare yourself to others. Focus on your own journey, and talk to your instructor and ask them, because I bet that they will tell you that you are indeed getting better. Trust your coaches and the other people around you, and if they tell you that you're getting better and that you're a tougher role, you're tougher to deal with, then believe them, and take them at their word and just say, okay, it's probably just an illusion. It's just from my perspective then. So, yeah, and then again, just keep pushing on, keep training, and eventually 5 years later, you're going to be a monster. But it's going to take a couple years. So I think overall, people just, they have such a short vision on jiu-jitsu and on the journey overall, and they don't see it as a lifetime journey. It needs to be something that you really are committed to over the course of a lifetime. That doesn't mean necessarily that you need to be a pro jiu-jitsu person and go full time and train 7 days a week, although you could or whatever. But even if you just do it once or twice a week, or even maybe every other week, or whatever it is for you, whatever it is, just stick to that routine, stick to that consistency, give it 5 years, and you're going to be a ninja assassin. It just takes some practice and some time. So go out there, keep training, and don't quit. Write in the comments below, let me know, why do you think people quit training jiu-jitsu?